Martha had always loved weekends. Ever since she retired, her Saturdays were reserved for something she enjoyed more than anything else: visiting garage sales. The quiet streets of her neighborhood on a Saturday morning had a special charm. The sun rose slowly, birds chirped, and the scent of freshly cut grass floated in the air. It was peaceful, and for Martha, it was the perfect escape from her small, cozy house. Martha lived alone. Her husband had passed away several years ago, and her children lived far away in other cities. While she missed them, she enjoyed her own company. Her days were simple. She spent mornings gardening, afternoons reading, and evenings knitting or watching the sunset from her small balcony. But the weekends were her real adventure. She loved seeing what treasures other people no longer needed, what forgotten objects might hold stories, and perhaps what hidden beauty she could bring home. On this particular Saturday, the sun shone bright, and a soft breeze rustled the leaves on the old oak trees lining the street. Martha had checked her usual garage sales earlier that week but found nothing special. Today she decided to explore a few streets she rarely visited. She wore her favorite light blue dress, comfortable walking shoes, and a sun hat that shielded her wrinkled face from the morning sun. With a tote bag on her shoulder, she stepped out of her house with a sense of quiet excitement. The first two garage sales on her list were unremarkable. A pile of old clothes, broken toys, and stacks of books that looked untouched for years greeted her. She smiled politely at the sellers, but nothing caught her eye. She moved on, following the scent of fresh coffee from a nearby cafe. Then she noticed a small sign stuck in the grass. "Garage sale today, everything must go." The sign pointed down a narrow street she had never explored before. Curiosity pushed Martha forward. She imagined all sorts of possibilities. Maybe she would find an antique vase, a set of old postcards, or even an old painting. She had always had a soft spot for art, even though she had never studied it formally. Something about the brush strokes, colors, and textures felt like a story frozen in time. The house at the end of the street was small and painted a fading yellow. Its garden was overgrown, and the driveway was crowded with tables and boxes filled with random items. Martha walked slowly, taking in the scene. There were old chairs, vintage lamps, stacks of books, and a few framed pictures leaning against a wall. Everything looked ordinary at first glance, but Martha had learned to trust her instincts over the years. Something in her heart told her to look carefully. As she moved closer to a table filled with various paintings and photographs, her eyes caught something unusual. Tucked between a dusty old frame and a stack of magazines was a small painting. It was about the size of a notebook and leaned slightly, almost hiding itself from view. The colors were bright soft blues, gentle greens, and warm yellows, and the brushstrokes looked detailed and careful. Martha felt an unexpected pull toward it. She picked up the painting carefully. It was heavier than she expected. She turned it over, looking for a signature or a date. There was a small, almost unreadable signature in the corner. Martha frowned slightly, trying to make sense of it. She had never heard of this artist, but something about the painting made her heart flutter. She felt a strange connection to it, as if it had been waiting for her all this time. A young man, probably in his 20s, noticed her interest and walked over. "Oh, that one," he said casually. "It's really old. I think my grandmother painted it. I don't know much about it. You can have it for $7. $7? That was barely anything. She smiled politely. "I'll take it," she said, handing him a few bills. The young man wrapped the painting in brown paper and handed it to her. "Enjoy it," he said with a shrug, clearly not realizing the value of what he had. As Martha walked back to her car, she held the painting close. The wind blew lightly, and she felt a gentle thrill she had not experienced in years. She wondered about the story behind it. Who painted it? Why had it been left at a garage sale? Why did it feel so familiar? She could not answer these questions, but the painting filled her with a quiet happiness she could not explain. Back at home, Martha cleaned the painting carefully and placed it on a small easel in her living room. Sunlight streamed through the windows and fell gently on the canvas. The colors seemed to glow, and the brushstrokes became even more vivid. Martha sat on her favorite chair, a cup of tea in hand, and stared at the painting. She felt a strange warmth in her chest, a feeling that something wonderful was about to happen, though she did not know what. Later that evening, her grandson Alex came to visit. Alex was 12, full of curiosity and always eager to explore the world with his grandmother. When he saw the painting, he tilted his head and examined it closely. "Grandma, this looks kind of old. Maybe it's worth something," he said, his eyes wide with excitement. Martha laughed softly. "Oh, Alex, I bought it because I liked it. I just wanted something cheerful on the wall. I didn't think about its value." She smiled at him and patted his shoulder. "Sometimes the best things are the ones that make us happy, not the ones that cost a lot of money." Alex nodded thoughtfully, but could not stop looking at the painting. "It looks important," he said quietly. "Maybe we should check online." Martha chuckled. "I suppose we could, just for fun." She helped Alex set up the tablet, and they searched for similar paintings. Hours passed as they scrolled through images, read about artists, and compared brushstrokes. Finally, they stumbled upon a faded signature that looked similar to the one on her painting. Martha's heart raced. The name was Harold Fletcher, a painter she had never heard of. According to the website, his paintings were rare and highly valued by collectors. Martha's hands trembled slightly. Could her small $7 painting really be by Harold Fletcher? She was cautious but could not hide her excitement. She remembered the young man at the garage sale, shrugging as if it was just another old painting. How could he not know what he had? That night, Martha could not sleep. She kept thinking about the painting, its colors, the brushstrokes, and the mysterious signature. She imagined what it would feel like to know, for certain, that she had found a rare piece of art. But she also reminded herself to stay calm. It could still be a copy or something unimportant. She decided to wait until she could have it examined by an expert. The next morning, Martha woke up with renewed energy. She dressed carefully, choosing her favorite navy cardigan and a comfortable skirt. She felt a sense of purpose she had not felt in years. Today, she would take her painting to an art gallery. She wanted to know the truth. She hoped for the best, but prepared herself for the possibility of disappointment. As she walked to the gallery, the painting safely tucked under her arm, she thought about the journey that had brought her here. A simple decision to explore a new street, a small $7 purchase, a quiet moment of curiosity, all had led her to this point. Martha smiled to herself, realizing that, sometimes, life's surprises came from the smallest choices and the simplest acts of curiosity. When she arrived at the gallery, the smell of polished wood and fresh paint greeted her. She approached the counter, where a middle-aged man with glasses and a kind smile looked up. "Good morning," Martha said. "I have a painting I would like to have examined. I think it may be valuable, but I am not sure." The man, whose name was Mr. Bennett, nodded and invited her to sit. "Let's take a look," he said. He carefully unwrapped the painting, examining the brushstrokes, colors, and signature with a magnifying glass. Martha watched anxiously, feeling her heart beat faster with every passing second. "This is interesting," Mr. Bennett said slowly, frowning in thought. "The brushstrokes are unique, and the signature, well, it looks similar to works by Harold Fletcher. I cannot say for certain without consulting some experts, but this could be something rare." Martha felt a mix of excitement and disbelief. Her small painting, bought for $7 at a quiet garage sale, this might be a valuable piece of art. She thanked Mr. Bennett and carefully took the painting back home. The idea that her ordinary life could suddenly hold such a surprise made her feel alive in a way she had not felt in years. That night, Martha placed the painting back on its easel. She sat in her chair, sipping tea, and stared at it thoughtfully. She realized that sometimes the world hid wonders in the most ordinary places. A quiet Saturday morning, a simple walk down a little-known street, and a tiny spark of curiosity had led her to this moment. She felt grateful, hopeful, and a little impatient for what was to come. Martha did not yet know how extraordinary this discovery would turn out to be. She did not know that this small, vibrant painting would soon change her life in ways she could never imagine. But she did know one thing: she had found something special, and that was enough to make her heart feel young again. And so, With the painting glowing softly and the sunlight streaming through her window, Martha drifted to sleep, dreaming of colors, stories, and the mysteries hidden in the world around her. The morning sun shone softly through Martha's living room window. She sat in her favorite chair, staring at the painting she had bought for $7. Even though it was just a small canvas, it seemed to carry a presence. Every time Martha looked at it, she felt a strange sense of curiosity and excitement. It was as if the painting had a story to tell, a story that was waiting for her to discover. Martha had never been one to believe in magic, but there was something about this painting that felt different. The brushstrokes were delicate and careful, the colors vibrant and alive. The little signature in the corner, faint and almost unreadable, seemed to whisper a name she had never known. She touched the frame gently, feeling the rough texture of the wooden edges, and wondered who had painted it and why it had ended up forgotten at a garage sale. Her mind kept returning to the name she had found online the night before: Harold Fletcher. According to the website, he was a painter from the early 1900s, known for landscapes and still life paintings. His works were rare because he had not produced many pieces, and over the years collectors had forgotten him. Some of his paintings had sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in rare cases, even over $1 million. Martha shook her head. Could it really be that this tiny painting was by Harold Fletcher? It seemed impossible. She had spent $7 on it, a small price for something she thought would brighten her living room. But the thought that it could be valuable made her heart race. She took a deep breath and tried to calm herself. She decided to do something she had never done before. She would take the painting to a few experts, people who really knew about art, to see if it was authentic. Martha knew it would take time, and she was prepared for the possibility of disappointment. Yet, a part of her could not stop dreaming about what it would mean if it were true. Later that morning, Martha called her grandson, Alex. He loved visiting her. She often enjoyed his curiosity and energy. "Alex," she said, "would you like to come over and help me with something interesting?" Alex arrived within the hour, his backpack bouncing against his shoulders. He had a bright smile on his face and a curiosity that could match Martha's own. When he walked into the living room and saw the painting on the easel, his eyes widened. "Wow, Grandma, this is beautiful," he exclaimed. He walked closer, examining the brushstrokes carefully. "I've never seen anything like this before." Martha smiled. "It's nice, isn't it? I bought it at a garage sale for $7. I didn't know anything about it, but I liked it. Now I think it could be something special." Alex tilted his head. "Special how?" "Well," Martha said, "I found a name online that might match the signature. It could be by a painter named Harold Fletcher. If that's true, it might be very valuable." Alex gasped. "Valuable? Like a lot of money?" Martha nodded slowly. "Maybe, but we won't know for sure until experts look at it." Alex's eyes sparkled. "We should find out right now." Martha chuckled at his enthusiasm. She loved that he shared her curiosity. Together, they searched online for local art galleries and appraisers who could examine the painting. They wrote down phone numbers, made appointments, and planned to visit the gallery later that afternoon while waiting for the appointment. Martha and Alex decided to study the painting more closely. They examined the colors, textures, and tiny details. There were faint lines in the background that suggested a landscape rolling, hills and a small river, but it was painted with a style that felt different from the ordinary. Every time Martha looked at it, she noticed something new: a tiny flower hidden in the grass, a bird perched on a branch, a reflection in the water. "It's amazing, Grandma," Alex said. "It's like it has a story inside it, waiting to come out." Martha nodded, feeling the same way. "Yes, Alex, that's exactly how I feel." Later that day, they drove to the gallery together. The building was large, with tall glass windows and polished floors. Inside, the air smelled faintly of paint and wood polish. Several paintings were displayed on the walls, and the gallery had a quiet, calm atmosphere. Martha felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement as she approached the front desk. A man with glasses and a kind smile greeted them. "Good afternoon. How can I help you?" Martha introduced herself and explained that she had a painting she wanted examined. She carefully unwrapped the painting and handed it to the man. whose name was Mr. Bennett. He adjusted his glasses and began examining it carefully. "This is very interesting," Mr. Bennett said slowly. He held the painting up to the light, examining the brushstrokes and colors. "The style is unusual, and the signature looks faintly familiar. Where did you get this painting?" Martha smiled. "I bought it at a garage sale for $7. I liked it for its colors and brushstrokes. I didn't think much about it until I researched the signature online." Mr. Bennett nodded thoughtfully. Sometimes the most valuable pieces are found in unexpected places. Martha felt a flutter of excitement. Could it really be true? Could this simple painting be something remarkable? Mr. Bennett carefully took notes, photographed the painting, and promised to consult a few other experts. "It may take some time," he said. "Art authentication is a detailed process, but if it is genuine, this could be an important discovery." Martha thanked him and left the gallery, holding Alex's hand. "Do you think it could really be worth something?" she asked quietly. Alex shrugged, but smiled. "I hope so, Grandma. But even if it's not, it's still beautiful." Martha nodded. Alex was right. Even without its potential value, the painting was already special to her. She had discovered it, and it had brightened her life. But she could not deny the hope and excitement she felt at the possibility of something greater. Over the next few days, Martha found herself thinking about the painting constantly. She cleaned the living room, arranged flowers, and made tea. But her mind often drifted back to the small canvas on the easel. She imagined its history, who had painted it, why it had ended up at a garage sale, and where it might have been in the past. She also noticed a subtle change in herself. She felt more alert, more energetic, and more curious than she had in years. The painting seemed to awaken something inside her, a sense of adventure that she thought had disappeared with her younger days. She started walking more in her neighborhood, noticing small details she had ignored before: the colors of flowers, the patterns of clouds, the laughter of children playing outside. One afternoon, as she sat with a notebook and pen, she began jotting down her thoughts about the painting. She wrote about the colors, the brushstrokes, the tiny details she had discovered. She wrote about the feeling it gave her, the feeling that something important was hidden within it. Alex joined her, drawing sketches inspired by the painting. Together, they spent hours discussing the possible story behind it. "I think the painter wanted people to notice small things," Alex said, pointing to a tiny flower in the corner of the canvas. "It's easy to miss, but it makes the painting complete." Martha smiled. "Yes, I think you're right. It's a reminder that small things can hold great beauty." As the days passed, Martha received a call from Mr. Bennett. He had spoken with several experts who were fascinated by the painting. While they could not confirm its authenticity immediately, they agreed it was unusual and deserved closer study. Martha felt a mixture of relief and impatience. She had waited a long time to know the truth, but she was grateful that experts were taking it seriously. During this time, Martha shared her discovery with a few close friends. They were curious and supportive, asking questions and marveling at the story. Some of them teased her, saying she might become rich from a garage sale find. Martha laughed, but felt a quiet hope growing inside her. The painting had already given her something priceless: excitement, curiosity, and a renewed sense of adventure. Every evening, Martha and Alex would sit together and look at the painting. They imagined its history and the artist who had created it. They talked about the world. The painting depicted a peaceful countryside, a river reflecting sunlight, birds flying in the sky. They laughed, shared stories, and dreamed together. The painting had become more than a piece of art. It had become a bridge between generations, connecting Martha and her grandson through wonder and imagination. One evening, as the sun set and the living room filled with golden light, Martha realized how much the painting had changed her life. It had awakened curiosity she had forgotten she had, brought her closer to her grandson, and reminded her that the world was full of surprises. She felt grateful for the small, unexpected joys that life offered, and she knew that whatever the experts discovered, the painting had already given her something precious that night. Martha placed the painting back on the easel and sat in her chair, sipping tea. She thought about the possibilities. What if it was genuine? What if it was valuable? She smiled at the uncertainty. Life was full of unknowns, and sometimes the best adventures came from the most unexpected places. She felt ready for whatever came next. Knowing that the painting had already made her days brighter and her heart lighter, and as Martha drifted to sleep, she felt a quiet thrill, a sense that something extraordinary was waiting just around the corner. The painting had sparked a journey, and she was ready to follow it wherever it might lead. The morning light streamed through the curtains, painting Martha's living room with a warm golden hue. The small painting she had purchased at the garage sale sat on its easel, glowing softly in the sunlight. Martha sat across from it, a cup of tea in her hands, feeling both excitement and nervousness. She had spent the last few days thinking about it constantly. The idea that her simple $7 purchase could be something extraordinary had filled her life with anticipation she had not felt in years. Today, she was going to take the painting to another expert, one who specialized in authenticating old works of art. Mr. Bennett at the gallery had suggested it, and Martha trusted his judgment. She dressed carefully, choosing a comfortable but neat outfit, a light green cardigan over a cream-colored blouse and a long skirt. She wanted to feel confident, as though she were ready to face whatever truth awaited her. Her grandson. Alex bounced into the room, his energy as lively as ever. "Are we going to see the expert today, Grandma?" he asked eagerly. "Yes, Alex," Martha said with a gentle smile. "We are going to find out more about the painting. We need someone who can tell us if it is real or not." Alex nodded, almost bouncing with excitement. He loved adventures like this, where mystery and discovery blended together. They carefully wrapped the painting in soft cloth, making sure it would be protected during the drive. Martha placed it gently in the back seat of her car, and Alex sat beside it. Staring curiously at the small canvas, the drive to the expert's office was quiet, filled with the kind of anticipation that makes the heart beat a little faster. Martha and Alex imagined the possibilities. Could the painting really be by Harold Fletcher? If it was, it might be worth a small fortune. But even if it wasn't, Martha reminded herself that the painting already brought her joy, and that was enough. When they arrived, the office building looked different from the gallery they had visited before. It was smaller, tucked into a quiet street, but it had a certain elegance. Inside, the air smelled faintly of old books and varnish. Shelves lined the walls, filled with carefully preserved documents, small sculptures, and framed artwork. A man with silver hair and a calm expression greeted them. "Good morning," the man said warmly. "I am Mr. Carter. How can I help you today?" Martha introduced herself and explained the story of the painting. She told him how she had found it at a garage sale, how she liked it, how she had discovered the possible connection to Harold Fletcher. Alex stood beside her, nodding enthusiastically. Mr. Carter smiled. "It sounds fascinating," he said. "Art is full of surprises, and sometimes the most unexpected discoveries are the most valuable." He carefully examined the painting, holding it up to the light, running his fingers gently along the frame, and inspecting the brush strokes. Martha watched closely, her heart racing with every move. Mr. Carter's eyes narrowed thoughtfully, and he muttered to himself as he continued his examination. "This is very well done," he said finally. "The brushwork is delicate, the colors are vibrant, and the composition is consistent with works from the early 1900s. The signature is faint, but it resembles Harold Fletcher's style. However, to be certain, I will need to run some tests and consult additional records." Martha felt a mix of relief and anxiety. Relief because an expert was taking her seriously, anxiety because she wanted an answer immediately. "How long will it take?" she asked. Mr. Carter smiled kindly. "Authenticating a painting is a careful process. It may take a few days to a couple of weeks, but rest assured, we will handle it with the utmost care and attention." Martha nodded, feeling both patient and impatient at the same time. She thanked Mr. Carter and left the office with Alex, feeling a sense of cautious optimism. On the drive home, they talked excitedly about what could happen if the painting was genuine. "Grandma, do you think it could really be worth money?" Alex asked, his eyes wide. Martha smiled. "It's possible, Alex, but the most important thing is that it's beautiful and it has brought us joy." Money is not the only measure of value. Alex thought for a moment. I guess you're right, but I still hope it's real. Martha laughed softly. So do I, Alex. So do I. Over the next few days, Martha could not stop thinking about the painting. She continued her usual routines, tending to her garden, baking bread, and reading her favorite books, but the painting lingered in her mind. Every time she passed it, she felt a strange mixture of curiosity and excitement. She would stand for several minutes, examining it closely, noticing details she had not seen before: the delicate layering of colors, the small patterns hidden in the brushstrokes, and the way light seemed to play across the canvas. One afternoon, Martha received a call from Mr. Carter. He had consulted with other experts and had some preliminary information. Martha's heart beat faster as she listened. "Ms. Martha," he said, "we have studied the painting carefully. While we cannot give a final confirmation yet, our preliminary findings suggest that it may indeed be an original work by Harold Fletcher. The materials, style, and signature all match his known works." Martha gasped softly, her hands trembling slightly. "Really?" she asked, hardly believing it. "Yes," Mr. Carter continued. "We will need to conduct further tests, including pigment analysis and historical research, to be completely certain. But this is a very promising sign. Your painting is unusual, and its quality is exceptional." Martha thanked him warmly and hung up the phone, feeling a rush of excitement. She turned to Alex, who was sitting nearby. "Alex, it may really be him. It may really be a painting by Harold Fletcher." Alex's eyes sparkled. "Wow, that's amazing, Grandma." Over the next few days, Martha and Alex prepared the painting for further analysis. They cleaned the room where it would be kept, making sure the light and temperature were ideal. Martha felt as though she was preparing for a very important event. She realized that she had never felt this kind of anticipation in a long time. It was thrilling to think that something so ordinary, a small painting bought for $7, could hold such extraordinary potential. Finally, the day came for the experts to conduct the tests. Mr. Carter arrived at Martha's home with a small team of specialists. They carefully unwrapped the painting, examining every detail. Martha and Alex watched quietly, feeling both nervous and excited. The experts used magnifying glasses, small brushes, and special lights to study the canvas. They took samples for pigment analysis and checked the composition of the materials used. "This is very delicate work," one of the experts said. "We need to make sure everything is perfect." Martha nodded, understanding. She had spent her life appreciating small things. Now she realized that patience and care were essential for discovering something truly valuable. As the hours passed, the experts worked carefully. Martha and Alex stayed nearby, observing, but not interfering. They discussed the possible history of the painting, imagining where it might have been for decades and how it had ended up at a garage sale. They laughed and speculated. But underneath their playful conversation was a growing sense of anticipation and wonder. Finally, Mr. Carter gathered them together. "We have examined the painting thoroughly," he said. "Based on the analysis, historical records, in comparison with known works, we can say with a high degree of confidence that this is an original painting by Harold Fletcher. It is rare, valuable, and significant. Congratulations." Martha felt her knees weaken slightly. She had expected the news, but hearing it confirmed made her feel overwhelmed. I can't believe it," she said softly. Alex hugged her tightly. "Grandma, this is amazing. You found a real treasure." Martha smiled through her tears. "It feels like a dream, Alex. I never imagined something like this could happen to me." The experts discussed the next steps, including how to handle the painting safely, document its history, and prepare it for appraisal and potential sale. Martha listened carefully, realizing that her life was about to change in ways she had never imagined. She had discovered something rare, and now it had the potential to transform her world. Over the next few days, Kana found herself reflecting on how extraordinary the experience had been. A simple act of curiosity attending a garage sale, noticing a small painting and deciding to buy it, had led to something remarkable. She realized that life could be full of surprises, even in her quiet, ordinary world. She felt grateful for the adventure, the excitement, and the connection it had brought her with Alex. She also began to think about what she might do if the painting was sold. The possibilities seemed endless. She could travel to places she had always dreamed of visiting, help her family, support her community, and even explore new hobbies. Yet she also knew that the real joy had been in the discovery itself, the thrill of curiosity, the process of learning, and the magic of finding something extraordinary in the most ordinary places. Every evening, Martha and Alex would sit together and look at the painting, imagining its past and dreaming about its future. They shared stories, speculated about the artist, and marveled at the beauty of the work. The painting had become more than just a piece of art. It had become a symbol of hope, curiosity, and the wonder of discovery. Martha knew that whatever happened next, her life had already been enriched. She had learned that ordinary moments could hold extraordinary potential, and that paying. The days following the expert's confirmation passed in a blur of excitement for Martha. She could hardly focus on her usual routines because her mind kept returning to the painting. Sitting quietly in her living room, she often found herself staring at the small canvas, imagining the life it had led before she had found it. The vibrant colors and delicate brushstrokes seemed to whisper stories of distant times. Martha felt both humbled and amazed that such beauty had ended up in her hands. Alex, as always, was by her side. He shared Martha's excitement and curiosity, asking endless questions about art, auctions, and collectors. "Grandma," he said one afternoon, "how does a painting like this get sold? Do people just pay money for it, or is there a special way?" Martha smiled at his curiosity. "Well, Alex, for paintings that are rare and valuable, there is usually an auction. People come from all over to see the artwork, and they place bids. The highest bidder takes the painting home. That's how collectors often buy art." Alex's eyes widened. "Wow, that sounds exciting. Can we go to the auction?" Martha laughed softly. "Yes, Alex, we will go together. But first, we need to prepare art." Preparation for the auction was a careful and detailed process. Mr. Carter and the team of experts guided Martha, explaining the steps needed to ensure the painting was ready. They carefully cleaned and preserved it, documented its history, and verified all details about the artist. They also advised her on the auction house, a reputable place known for handling rare and valuable artwork. Martha felt a mixture of nerves and excitement as the day of the auction approached. She had never attended an event like this before. In her quiet life, she had never imagined standing in a room filled with collectors, gallery owners, and art enthusiasts, all eager to bid for a single painting. The thought was thrilling. She could feel her heart beating faster at the mere idea. On the morning of the auction, Martha and Alex dressed carefully. Martha chose a light blue dress that made her feel confident and calm. Alex wore his favorite shirt, the one with the small patterns he liked. They drove together to the auction house, the painting safely wrapped and transported with utmost care. The building was grand, with tall ceilings, polished floors, and walls adorned with famous paintings. The atmosphere was filled with anticipation and quiet energy. People moved about, speaking in hushed tones, examining the artwork, and discussing bids. Martha felt a wave of excitement and nervousness as she walked through the grand hall. When they arrived at the auction room, they were guided to a reserved seat near the front. From there, they could see the small painting displayed on an easel under soft lighting. The colors were even more vivid under the lights, and Martha felt a thrill every time her eyes fell on it. She imagined all the people who would soon see the painting and hoped they would appreciate it as much as she had. Alex leaned close to her. "Grandma, look at all these people. Do you think someone will pay a lot for it?" Martha smiled and squeezed his hand. "I hope so, Alex. But remember, even if they don't, the painting has already brought us so much joy." The auction began, and the room became quiet. The auctioneer, a tall man with a clear, commanding voice, stepped up to the podium. He began presenting the first few items, which included small sculptures, decorative vases, and paintings of lesser-known artists. The audience listened attentively, occasionally whispering and raising their paddles to place bids. Finally, it was time for Martha's painting. The auctioneer paused for a moment, letting the anticipation build. Then he spoke, his voice carrying across the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, we now present a rare and exquisite painting by Harold Fletcher. This original work has been verified by experts and is a fine example of his artistry. We begin the bidding at $50,000. Martha felt her hands tighten around Alex's. $50,000? That was far more than she had ever imagined. Her heart raced as she watched the first bidder raise a paddle. The auctioneer acknowledged it and moved to the next bid. The numbers climbed quickly. 75,000. 100,000? The room seemed to buzz with energy as more people joined in the bidding. Each new bid brought a mixture of excitement and tension. Martha and Alex watched in awe, barely daring to breathe. At 200,000, Martha could hardly contain her excitement. She had never thought in her life that a painting she bought for $7 could reach such a number. She glanced at Alex, whose eyes were wide with amazement. "Grandma," he whispered, "this is incredible." The bidding continued, and the numbers climbed higher and higher. People from all over the room raised their paddles, determined to own the rare piece of art. The auctioneer's voice rang clearly, acknowledging each new bid with precision and excitement. 300,000. 400,000. 500,000. Martha's heart pounded. She could hardly believe what she was seeing. The painting that had sat quietly in her living room, unnoticed by anyone else, had become the center of attention for collectors and enthusiasts. The energy in the room was electric, and Martha felt both nervous and exhilarated. Alex leaned close. "Grandma, it's almost at $1 million," he whispered. Martha felt a rush of disbelief. $1 million? Could that be possible? She had never dreamed of such a number. The bidding continued, with each new paddle raising the stakes. The room was silent, except for the auctioneer's clear, precise voice. Finally, after an intense round of bidding, the auctioneer paused, scanning the room. $1,200,000. "Do I hear $1,300,000? He looked around, and there were no more bids. "Sold. $1,200,000. Martha felt her knees weaken slightly. $1,200,000. She could hardly believe it. A simple painting bought for $7 at a small garage sale and sold for more money than she had ever imagined in her entire life. Alex jumped up and hugged her tightly. "Grandma, you did it. You really did it," he exclaimed, his face glowing with excitement. Martha laughed, tears of joy in her eyes. "I can't believe it, Alex. It's unbelievable. I never expected anything like this to happen." The auctioneer called her forward to complete the formalities. Martha stepped up carefully, still in shock. She signed the necessary documents, and the staff carefully prepared the painting for delivery to the winning bidder. As she handed it over, she felt a mixture of emotions, joy, excitement, and a little sadness. She had grown attached to the painting. She knew it had found a new home with someone who would cherish it. After the auction, Martha and Alex returned home, still buzzing with excitement. The reality of what had happened slowly sank in. The small painting she had bought for $7 had changed their lives forever. She could now do things she had only dreamed of: help her family, travel, and support causes she cared about. But beyond the money, the experience had reminded her of the joy of curiosity, the thrill of discovery, and the importance of following one's instincts. That evening, Martha sat quietly in her living room, reflecting on the journey. She thought about the sunny morning when she had found the painting at a garage sale, the excitement of discovering the possible connection to Harold Fletcher, and the careful steps she had taken with the experts. Each moment had led to this incredible outcome. She realized that life could hold extraordinary surprises. Even in the most ordinary places, Alex sat beside her, still talking excitedly about the auction and the painting. "Grandma," he said, "I'm so proud of you. You found something amazing, and now everyone knows how special it is." Martha smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "Yes, Alex. And remember, the real joy was in finding it, enjoying it, and discovering its story. The rest is just a wonderful bonus." Over the next few days, Martha began to plan what she would do with the money. She considered renovating her home, traveling to places she had always dreamed of, and supporting her family. But more than anything, she wanted to use a part of it to help her community's small projects, local charities, and causes that could make a real difference in the lives of others. The experience had reminded her that wealth was not just about money. It was about using resources to create joy, help others, and make life more meaningful. The painting, though no longer in her home, had left a lasting impact. It had rekindled her sense of adventure, curiosity, and wonder. It had strengthened her bond with Alex, who had shared every moment of the journey with her. And it had shown her that life's most extraordinary moments often came from the simplest. Actions like noticing a small painting at a garage sale, following a curious feeling, and taking the time to explore what might be hidden beneath the surface. That night, Martha sat by the window, looking at the stars. She felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had discovered something remarkable, shared it with someone she loved, and learned that life was full of surprises, waiting for those willing to notice them. The journey had been more than a financial gain. It had been a reminder that curiosity, patience, and a sense of wonder could lead to experiences beyond imagination. And as Martha drifted off to sleep, she felt a quiet joy. The auction had been a thrilling adventure, and though the painting was gone, its story had become a part of her own. She knew that even in ordinary moments, life could bring extraordinary treasures, and she felt ready for whatever surprises awaited her next. Martha woke up early the morning after the auction. The sunlight filled her room, and for a moment she paused, reflecting on everything that had happened over the past few weeks. Her small, quiet life had transformed in ways she had never imagined. From discovering a forgotten painting at a garage sale to attending a high-stakes auction, every moment had been a mixture of curiosity, excitement, and discovery. She got out of bed, dressed in her favorite light green cardigan, and made herself a cup of tea. Sitting by the window, she looked out at the garden she had tended for years. The flowers were blooming brightly, the birds were chirping, and the world seemed fresh and full of possibilities. Martha smiled. Life had always been beautiful, but now it felt even brighter. Her grandson, Alex, bounded into the room with his usual energy. "Grandma, are you ready to start planning all the exciting things we can do?" he asked eagerly. Martha laughed softly. "Yes, Alex. I think we have a lot to think about." She had spent the previous evening reflecting on how she wanted to use the money from the painting. She wanted to make sure it would make a positive difference in her life and the lives of others, not just fill her bank account. Over breakfast, Martha and Alex discussed possibilities. They talked about traveling to places Martha had always dreamed of seeing. She had never been to Paris, Rome, or the beaches of California. They spoke about helping her family, making improvements to the house, and donating to local charities. Every idea was exciting, and the possibilities seemed endless. After breakfast, Martha took a quiet walk in her neighborhood. She noticed everything with new eyes. The world had always been full of small wonders, but now they felt more meaningful. She greeted neighbors with warmth, noticing the way sunlight reflected off leaves and the cheerful sound of children playing nearby. She thought about how a simple decision to visit a garage sale had led to such extraordinary changes. It reminded her that life's surprises could be found in the smallest of moments. Back at home, Martha began making plans carefully. She contacted a financial advisor to ensure the money would be handled wisely. She and Alex created a list of goals, both big and small. They planned a garden renovation, a trip to a nearby city, and donations to a local animal shelter. But beyond these practical plans, Martha also decided to nurture something she had always loved learning. She enrolled in an online painting class, inspired by the discovery that had changed her life. One afternoon, Martha sat in her living room reflecting on the painting that had started it all. Though it was no longer in her home, its presence was still felt. She remembered the morning she had discovered it, the way the colors had captivated her, and the quiet joy she had felt when she held it in her hands. She realized that the true value of the painting was not just in the money it had brought, but in the experiences, excitement, and lessons it had given her. Alex sat beside her. holding a notebook filled with sketches and ideas inspired by the painting. "Grandma, I think we should keep drawing and painting every week," he said enthusiastically. "It's fun, and who knows? Maybe one day one of our paintings will be discovered too." Martha smiled at his enthusiasm. "I think that's a wonderful idea, Alex. Art is about expressing ourselves and finding joy. Let's do it together." Over the next few weeks, Martha's life became a careful balance of planning, exploration, and creativity. She visited galleries and museums, learning more about artists like Harold Fletcher. She spent time with Alex, sharing stories and teaching him about observation, patience, and the beauty of small details. They painted together, laughed together, and dreamed together. Martha also used part of the money to improve her home. She renovated the kitchen, creating a bright and cheerful space where she and Alex could bake and cook together. She added new furniture, painted the walls in warm, welcoming colors, and planted flowers in the garden. Every change was made with care, reflecting her personality and her love for beauty and comfort. Beyond her home, Martha made thoughtful contributions to her community. She donated to the local library, helped fund a small art program at a nearby school, and supported an animal shelter she had always cared about. Each act of giving brought her a sense of fulfillment she had never experienced before. She realized that wealth was not just about having money. It was about using resources to bring joy and help others. One sunny afternoon, Martha and Alex took a trip to the countryside. They walked through fields of wildflowers, listened to the sound of the river, and watched the birds soar in the sky. Martha felt a deep sense of peace. She realized that the painting had given her more than money. It had given her a renewed sense of adventure and appreciation for the world around her. As they rested by the riverbank, Alex turned to her. "Grandma, I think this is the best adventure ever." "I'm so glad we found the painting," Martha nodded, feeling a warm glow in her heart. "Me too, Alex. It has been an incredible journey. And the best part is that it reminded us to notice the beauty in small things, to follow our curiosity, and to be open to surprises." That evening, Martha hosted a small gathering for close friends. She shared her story, from discovering the painting at the garage sale to the auction that had changed her life. Her friends listened with amazement, inspired by the journey. They laughed, celebrated, and marveled at how a simple act of curiosity could lead to such extraordinary experiences. Martha reflected on the lessons she had learned. Life was full of hidden treasures, waiting to be discovered by those who were willing to notice, explore, and take chances. She realized that her curiosity, patience, and openness had led her to something remarkable. But even more importantly, the experience had reminded her to cherish the simple joys in life, family, friendship, beauty, and creativity. As weeks turned into months, Martha continued to embrace her new life. She traveled, painted, supported her community, and spent time with Alex. They explored new hobbies, learned new skills, and created memories that would last a lifetime. Each day was filled with excitement, gratitude, and the quiet joy of discovery. One evening, as she sat in her living room watching the sunset, Martha thought about the journey that had begun with a $7 painting. She smiled, remembering the sunny morning at the garage sale. The excitement of discovery, the careful work with experts, and the thrilling auction. It had all led to a life richer in experiences, joy, and purpose. Alex came running in, holding a small sketchbook. "Grandma, look. I finished another painting inspired by the one we discovered." Martha took the sketchbook, smiling proudly. The small painting depicted a peaceful landscape, with colors and details that reflected what they had learned from Harold Fletcher's work. "Alex, this is wonderful," she said. "I'm so proud of you." They sat together, sharing their thoughts and ideas, planning new creative projects, and dreaming of the adventures that still awaited them. Martha realized that life was full of possibilities, and the joy of discovery was endless. Even though the painting was no longer in her home, its spirit lived on in Martha and Alex. It had taught them to notice beauty, cherish small moments, and embrace curiosity. It had shown them that life's most extraordinary experiences could come from the most ordinary beginnings. Martha felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had discovered a rare treasure, shared it with someone she loved, and learned that the real value of life was not measured in money, but in joy, creativity, and meaningful connections. The painting had opened a door to a world of new possibilities, and she stepped through it with gratitude, excitement, and hope. As night fell, Martha and Alex sat by the window, watching the stars appear one by one. They talked quietly about their dreams, their plans, and the adventures that awaited them. Martha felt a sense of peace and happiness she had never known before. She realized that life's treasures were often hidden in plain sight, waiting for those who were willing to notice, care, and explore. And so, Martha's life continued, filled with joy, creativity, and purpose. The $7 painting had changed everything. But more importantly, it had reminded her of the beauty of curiosity, the power of patience, and the endless possibilities that life offered, with Alex by her side and the world full of wonders to explore. Martha felt ready for any adventure. The painting had been just the beginning, and she knew that life's surprises would continue to come in ways she could never imagine. She smiled, feeling grateful for the journey, the lessons, and the endless possibilities ahead. Martha had learned that, sometimes, the most extraordinary experiences began with the simplest decisions, and that the joy of discovery was a treasure greater than any painting could ever hold.